for this type cause for teaching the postgraduates. Thank you, madam. Please continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shall we proceed with the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to present a case of jaundice with hepatosplenomegaly. A 1 month, 15 days old male child born to non-consanguineous married couple hailing from Chikmagalur, whose informant being father with good reliability, presented with chief complaints of yellowish discoloration of eyes, skin, and high-colored urine since 15 days of life. Child also had abdominal distension for 7 days. History of presenting illness. Child was delivered at government hospital and discharged on postnatal day 3, following which parents noticed yellowish discoloration of the eyes and skin since 15 days of life. Child also had high colored urine passing 7 to 8 times per day. Initially, child had stool color was normal, and past 1 week noticed to have pale colored stools, intermittent with pigmented stools, which was normal in consistency. Child also developed abdominal distension for 7 days, which was insidious in onset and gradually progressive in size. Also had excessive cry for 2 days.
Okay, Madhubala, this child, Madhubala, are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this child has come with the child with jaundice at 15 days of life. So what is your thought?
It could be conjugated bilirubinemia, ma'am. Day 3 of life, from 15 days of life, it could be because of sepsis or any obstructive causes.
So why do you think this is conjugated bilirubinemia?
Because the yellowish discoloration of eyes, prolonged jaundice for more than 14 days, high colored urine, and
this high colored urine, can this be due to some multivitamin drops or something, some other medications? So what other important point in your history you should have mentioned?
This child initially stool color was normal, but gradually progressed to
how do you say it's indirect bilirubin? How do you say it's conjugated bilirubin? Okay, yellow color urine. Okay, except that it could be
pale colored stools, ma'am.
That it is only conjugated. What is the important history you should ask?
Pale colored stools, ma'am.
No, in urine.
High colored
urine. What will happen?
High colored urine, and
so it is. You ask them it stains the diaper or not.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is very important. Why staining of the? Why do you want to know the staining of diaper? That will directly tell that it is definitely due to conjugated bilirubin. That's why you always ask for high colored urine which stains the diaper.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think color of the stool is very important?
Excretion of the
stool, I'm asking.
Excretion of the bile.
What is the normal color of the stool in the case of a breastfed infant?
Greenish yellow, ma'am. Yellow colored stools.
Okay, usually golden yellow or greenish yellow. Okay. Okay. So why did you specifically ask for change in color? Why do you want to know the change in color?
To rule out the obstructive cause, ma'am.
Okay, so when there is an obstructive, that is when this child when has obstructive jaundice, that is there's obstruction to the bile flow, then no bile into the intestine, so the stool usually will be white or light yellow. That's why you wanted to know. Okay. Yes, so abdominal distension, you said abdominal distension for 7 days. Yes. Abdominal distension, where was the distension?
Ma'am, patient party could not.
Important. Do you think it's important?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Upper abdominal distension, if the complaint is of upper abdominal distension, to rule out organomegaly, and uniformly distended abdomen can rule out presence of fluid, ma'am.
Okay, this child, what do you think it could be abdominal distension due to?
Ma'am, history-wise, patient party could not, they could not say whether it was uniformly distended or they were not able to generalize, ma'am. Probably. Okay.
So anything else in your history which can say that it is not due to fluid? Have you taken the history subsequently? So otherwise, what are the causes for abdominal distension? Generally, what are the causes for abdominal distension?
Fluid.
Okay.
Organomegaly, ma'am.
Okay.
Flatus, ma'am. Gaseous abdomen can be distended.
Okay. So how did you rule out those others?
The examination findings.
Not examination, but history. How did you, to a certain
A
extent?
mother gave history that child is passing stools every day. Frequent
Okay.
passage of stools was there. So it was not gaseous abdomen.
So child was not constipated or obstipated. So you think that there is no intestinal obstruction or anything like Hirschsprung's in this child?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how did you rule out fluid?
History wise, ma'am.
Yes.
Breathlessness. Mother did not give any history that child had breathlessness.
More importantly, any sacral edema or pedal edema?
Yes, ma'am. Facial
oliguria, facial puffiness. These are not there. So
puffiness.
this may suggest fluid retention rather than any other history. So because you didn't have any other history suggestive other conditions, other causes for abdominal distension, you thought it could be due to
Organomegaly.
organomegaly. Okay. So what in a child with according to the child has got conjugated bilirubemia with pale. So in such a child, when the child is excessive crying, what do you think?
It could be because of the child would have because of poor feeding or intracranial bleed or seizures, ma'am.
Okay, it can be even manifestation of seizure or it could be due to intracranial bleed.
Intracranial bleed.
Okay, proceed.
Yes, ma'am. No history of fever, rashes, or bleeding episodes. No history of.
So from the history, what is your idea? Why did you ask? Why are you asking for fever, rashes, and bleeding episodes?
To rule out any torch infections, ma'am. To rule out infections in the infancy.
Okay, this conjugated bilirubin, according to it says conjugated bilirubin, abdominal may be due to organomegaly. This child has got incessant crying. Why did you think in terms of a torch infection?
Organomegaly in torch infections, child can manifest with jaundice, organomegaly, seizures can lethargy.
Otherwise, what is the important history which will point you towards a torch infection?
Maternal history, ma'am.
Maternal, other than even history, the child, what might the child look like, or how the child will behave, or how the child will progress after birth? Usually, the torch infection, the child is usually well or
very sick child, ma'am.
Sick child, ma'am.
so this the child should be the sick, or the child should be failing to thrive.
Right, failure to
It should have some history of some other cutaneous bleeds or something like that. So our child, the head is small or head is large, something if the child complaints are something like that, or then you can think in terms of torch. But why this particularly this child you thought of torch first? Or you're going by a protocol. It's a history is a protocol, like you ask this for every other case.
No, ma'am, just because jaundice with hepatosplenomegaly, the common causes could be torch infections and metabolic disorders. So I want to rule out each cause, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. No history of lethargy or seizures or weak cry. No history of vomiting.
What condition produces lethargy and seizures?
Metabolic disorders like galactosemia, ma'am.
So in galactosemia, why you have lethargy and seizures?
Seizures could be because of hypoglycemia or intracranial bleed, ma'am.
Usually due to hypoglycemia. Okay.
No history of vomiting or loose stools. No history of decreased.
Why vomiting and loose stools?
To rule out metabolic conditions, ma'am. And also dehydration.
Vomiting and loose stools. Okay, vomiting may be an indication of inborn error of metabolism, but loose stools may be part of sepsis. Sepsis is one of the cause for cholestasis, no?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why maybe that's the reason you put loose stools. Okay, then.
No history of decreased urine output. No history of crying during maturation, or no history of constipation.
Where you ask for crying during maturation?
To rule out UTI, ma'am.
Okay, UTI is one of the commonest infections in newborns. Okay.
No history of constipation, or no history of blood transfusions. Child was low.
If the child had constipation, what will you think of? If the child had constipation, then what will you think?
Hypothyroidism.
Hypothyroidism, does it have hepatosplenomegaly?
Hirschsprung's disease, any intestinal obstruction.
Hirschsprung disease per se can cause hepatosplenomegaly?
No, ma'am.
Okay. It can be part of, sometimes in biliary atresia, may other associated anomalies, they can cause constipation, like even Hirschsprung or any malrotation or other conditions. Can
Yes.
cause constipation. Okay, then
No history of blood transfusions, ma'am.
blood transfusion. Why did you ask?
To rule out hemolytic disorders, ma'am.
Okay.
Child was taken to local hospital at 1 month of life for the above complaints, was told to have liver problem, hence was referred here for further evaluation. Birth history was uneventful. Antenatal history, spontaneous consumption, iron and folic acid tablets were taken. No history of fever with rash, no history of blood transfusions or leaking fever, bleeding PV, no history of thyroid abnormalities, ultrasound scans were normal. Natal history, child is a term baby, AGA 2.8 kg, born by vaginal route, said to have cried soon after birth. Postnatal history, no history of NICU admissions, discharged on day 3 of life.
Dr. Madhu,
Yes, sir.
can you please go to the previous slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the importance of birth weight in this particular condition?
So to rule out torch infections, child will be IUGR baby, sir. And
Okay.
to rule out intrauterine infections.
Okay. Anything else? One is
Anything
intrauterine.
else?
You say whether it is neonatal hepatitis or surgical or medical problems.
Okay. The surgical problem, what will be the weight? If medical problem, what will be the weight?
Usually normal weight babies can lead for the surgical problems, ma'am. Then sick child can lead for mild.
Generally surgical because they have a normal birth weight and they even after postnatal weight gain also will be adequate. Okay. So, Dr. Ravikar, anything else you want to ask?
Yes, regarding the vaginal route, you said that it is vaginal route. Did you ask for any particular history of instrumentation? May not be really so relevant, but still any reason?
To rule out cephalohematoma, sir. Jaundice can persist in.
Okay, but anyway, may not persist for so long, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Developmental history, normal. Immunization history, immunized at birth, 6 weeks immunization not taken. Diet history.
What is the development at this age? What development did you ask?
Ma'am, hands remain open and face regard.
Face regard.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Continue.
Diet history, exclusive breastfeeding. Family history, first in birth order, non-consanguineous marriage, no similar history in the family, no history of regular blood transfusions or major abdominal surgery.
What are the conditions with hepatosplenomegaly and jaundice which can run in families?
Metabolic disorders
Okay, metabolic.
and progressive familial intrahepatic cholestasis can run in the family, ma'am. It's an autosomal dominant condition.
Okay, what about torch?
Yes, ma'am.
Can it occur the previous pregnancy also? Not family history, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so why did you ask for blood transfusions or major abdominal surgeries?
Blood transfusions to rule out hemolytic disorders in the family, ma'am.
Okay.
And major abdominal surgeries if any splenectomy was done for anyone in the family.
So everything in favor of a hemolytic disorder.
Yes, ma'am.
Hemolysis is only an indirect bilirubin, no? The urine is not colored high.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay then.
The other point is what type of hemolytic anemia do you expect regular blood transfusions? What condition do you expect? Yeah, do you think it will present at this stage? Do you think the presentation would be at 6 weeks?
No, sir. If it is a beta thalassemia major, it won't present at this age, sir.
Yeah, so I think it is not.
Why it doesn't present this early, Dr. Ravi?
Because yes, because beta chains to be starting to generate at the 6 to 9 months of age, ma'am. So for hemoglobin A2, alpha beta change is needed. At the same time, fetal hemoglobin is replaced by adult hemoglobin, ma'am.
Okay. Continue, Dr. Madhu.
Yes, ma'am. Socioeconomic history, upper low socioeconomic class according to modified Kupasamy scale. Summary: 1 month, 15 days old male child born out of non-consanguineous marriage, first in birth order, with uneventful birth history and non-significant family history, presented with jaundice, high-colored urine for 1 month, and pale-colored stools, likely to have conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, secondary to intrahepatic or extrahepatic disorders.
No, you cannot, with the history, you cannot go for both. Why do you want to say both intrahepatic and extrahepatic with this history?
Ma'am, in extrahepatic causes like biliary atresia, choledochal cyst, and inspissated bile syndrome, child can have jaundice with pale colored stools, and high colored urine can also be present, ma'am.
Okay.
Whereas in intrahepatic disorders like a neonatal hepatitis, also intermittently pale colored stools can be seen. And
whenever a child presents with neonatal cholestasis and persistently pale stools, what would be your diagnosis?
that rules out obstructive pathology.
No, it's a persistently pale stools.
Persistently pale stools rules out biliary atresia, ma'am.
So you think more in terms of
Obstructive.
surgical causes. Okay.
Yes,
So then why did you bring only when you have a doubt that is a lightly pigmented or something? Then you can this case may be different totally. That is. But what is otherwise what is in your history which makes you think it could be even intrahepatic? That you missed out. That you missed out in your history. Maybe you didn't mention. Why did you think this child could even be even that? Why the possibility you thought of?
Suppose if the child is have failure to thrive.
Okay, so that why you forgot to mention that? Huh? What was the birth weight of the child? What is the present weight of the child?
Birth weight is 2.8 kg, ma'am. Present weight is actually 3 kg, but they did not have any documented weight gain.
The mother did not mention the child is not gained weight.
They were not aware about the weight gain, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Maybe that's why maybe you thought that could be due to an intrahepatic disorder.
Intrahepatic, yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, you know, with the normal full-term child which has got jaundice and pale stools, then that extra biliary atresia should be your first diagnosis. But you thought that the child is not gaining weight adequately. The child is breastfed.
And also excessive cry was also there, ma'am.
So this child is exclusively breastfed, I'm asking. Is the child exclusively breastfed?
Yes, ma'am, exclusively breastfed, ma'am.
Okay, so the child should have gained adequate weight. May know only 200 grams for the past 1.5 months. So the weight gain is inadequate, but that maybe you illustrated only by your examination.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's why because this child is not trivial, maybe you brought even the intrahepatic disorder. But generally, whenever you find a child with neonatal jaundice and persistently pale stool, then biliary atresia should be your first diagnosis. Then I accept that when you have severe cholestasis, even medical causes can present with pale or lightly pigmented stools. So, so you generally think of biliary, you have to rule out biliary atresia. Only if it's not possible, then you think of other causes. Okay.
Yes.
Why this order of neonatal hepatitis, metabolic disorders, and torch infection? What is the neonatal hepatitis? What is this torch?
Ma'am, neonatal, most common intrahepatic could be neonatal cause, ma'am. In neonatal hepatitis, the child can have intermittently pale colored stools.
No, why I'm asking, what I'm asking is, what do you mean by neonatal hepatitis? What torch is not a neonatal hepatitis?
Yes, ma'am. Infection. During
so when you neonatal hepatitis, what do you mean by neonatal hepatitis? That's what I'm asking.
There can be idiopathic neonatal hepatitis.
So you mean this idiopathic? Always you put idiopathic at the as a one. If you are able to, the idiopathic neonatal hepatitis was a cause. It was almost for many years back, maybe when we were studying. But now because we have just improved our diagnostic modalities so much, now only the neonatal hepatitis becomes very, very small part. Most of them we have a diagnosis in neonatal cholestasis. Most of them we have a diagnosis. Maybe 30 to 40% still doesn't have a diagnosis. But so you don't put an idiopathic neonatal diagnosis the first possibility. Always put it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You can put torch and metabolic higher up than neonatal hepatitis. Why do you want to think in terms of metabolic or torch?
Because the child had excessive cry, ma'am. That could be because of any seizures or intracranial bleed also. So the child can presented with conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So I thought of metabolic disorders also, ma'am.
Child are bleeding from any other sides?
No, ma'am. No bleeding episodes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So what are the points in favor of biliary atresia? What are the points in favor of medical disorders?
Biliary atresia, persistent jaundice, high-colored urine, and pale-colored stools, ma'am.
Okay.
So intrahepatic causes failure to like examination-wise, I'll elicit about the anthropometry weight.
History-wise only failure to try. Otherwise, history-wise only examination you can confirm. Okay. So what history should have add in the case of inspissatal bile syndrome, which is not there in this child? What are the conditions which produce inspissatal bile syndrome?
Hemolytic
So should have hemolysis, severe hemolysis.
cystic fibrosis.
This child does not have any history of that. So in bile syndrome in this child is very rare possibility. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
One thing, ma'am, that neonatal hepatitis secondary to any viral causes of hepatitis B or hepatitis C can be suspected in this.
Viral hepatitis B and C are causing neonatal hepatitis is very, very rare. Generally, they don't present in the neonatal period. It will be very, very rare. There's a rare possibility. So generally, we don't bring in the diagnosis of jaundice in a newborn. Generally, we don't bring hepatitis B and C. Only if there are no other cause you're able to find out, then for just for completion's sake, maybe you have to look for C and B. But otherwise, it's not a common cause for jaundice in the newborn.
Yes.
It may present later only.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Proceed.
Yes, ma'am.
So with the possible diagnosis of biliary atresia and another, and just because there is a failure to thrive, you want to keep the intrahepatic disorder like metabolic and torch also examine the child. With this in mind, you're going to examine the child. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Examination, general physical examination, a well-looking child, examine in supine position, vitals are normal, pulse rate of 134 beats per minute, regular in rhythm, respiratory rate was 36 counts per minute.
You have a picture of the child?
Sorry, ma'am.
Picture child. You have a picture of the child? No.
No, ma'am, I've not.
Okay. That you put no. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Respiratory rate was 36 counts per minute. Blood pressure 85/50 mm of mercury measured in the right arm. Temperature afebrile. Capillary refilling time was less than 3 seconds. All the peripheral pulses were well felt.
Madhu, can you go to the previous slide? Is there any specific reason why you have written well looking, or you want to just generally you are trying to say, or is there any reason why in this particular child you have mentioned that the child is looking well?
Yes, sir. To differentiate between the causes of between sick child and non-sick child, sir. So a sick child, they'll have causes could be galactosemia, metabolic disorders. The child will be sick. So whereas a well-looking child could be because of obstructive causes.
Okay, so you are thinking more in terms of biliary atresia or surgical causes because the child is looking well.
Medical causes like neonatal hepatitis or torch infections where the child can present with sick looking. So
actually, she had sent me the photograph of the child. Like the child really looks well only. For the look wise, the child looks well. That's why I said she could have put the graph better. Okay.
Yes.
Anthropometry. Admission weight was 3 kg. Expected for this 1.5 month old is 3.8 kg, which falls less than the third centile. No adequate weight gain was noted. Birth weight was 2.8 kg, which is between the third and the 50th centile. Current weight is 3 kg, less than the third centile. So failure to... So I want to say failure to thrive because the weight gain was less than 20 grams per day and downward crossing of more than 2 major percentiles on the growth chart. So the child is having a length of 54 centimeter observed and expected was 58 centimeter, which is at the third centile. Head circumference was 36 centimeter observed. Expected was 38 centimeter, and that is at third centile.
Do you have the length and head circumference at birth?
No, ma'am. Documentation
Don't
is
have.
not
Okay.
available, ma'am.
Okay.
Here, what is the importance of head circumference in this particular child, Dr. Madhu?
Sir, microcephaly, if it is present, to rule out torch infection, sir.
Okay, fine.
What about macrocephaly?
Hydrocephalus can be seen in toxoplasmosis, ma'am.
Okay, macrocephaly.
Macro.
Usually seen in storage disorders.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially,
Sorry, ma'am.
like which condition you can see macrocephaly masking? Okay, we'll discuss.
Yes, ma'am. Head to toe examination. Head appears normal. AF at level. No facial dysmorphism. Ear, nose, throat appears normal. Eyes, icterus present. No cataract. Fundus examination was normal. Skin, yellowish discoloration present involving the palms and soles. BCG scar was present. No petechiae or rashes. No pallor. No cyanosis or
Can you go to
lymph.
the previous slide?
Yes,
Is there any specific reason why you have mentioned no cataract? Fundus is normal.
yes, sir.
What does-
Cataract to rule out any metabolic disorders, sir.
Which
And also torch infection.
be specific which metabolic disorder?
So galactosemia child can have
Okay, be
cataract.
specific. That is important. No. Okay, then
Galactosemia child
Fundus
can
examination.
have cataract. Fundus examination to rule out toxoplasmosis, chorioretinitis, and also in congenital rubella syndrome.
Will you be able to identify chorioretinitis?
Uh,
Difficult for just fundus to identify chorioretinitis. Anyway, anything else you can see?
Ma'am?
Cherry red spot, can you see? Cherry red spot.
No, ma'am.
Is there any storage disorder where you can?
Gouch, Niemann Pick disease.
Okay. So why do you say facial? What are the conditions with facial dysmorphism?
Ma'am, in storage disorders, coarse faces and syndromic, syndromic like Down syndrome, Alagille syndrome, Zellweger syndrome.
Okay. What are the features of Alagille syndrome? Facial features?
Facial features, triangular faces, sharp nose, deep set eyes. And bone, in skeletal, we can see butterfly vertebra, cardiac abnormalities like pulmonic stenosis.
No, that's okay. Just the faces I wanted. Okay. Okay.
No pallor or cyanosis, lymphadenopathy or edema was noted. Chest appears normal. Abdomen was uniformly distended. Umbilicus normal. 2 × 2 centimeter hemangioma was present above the umbilicus. Genitalia appears normal and extremities normal.
Okay.
Systemic examination. Moving on to the abdominal examination, inspection, abdomen was uniformly distended, umbilicus was center in position, flanks free, all quadrants move equally with respiration, hemangioma present above the umbilicus, abdominal veins were visible, no scars, sinuses or visible pulsations, external genitalia was normal. Palpation, no local rise of temperature, soft, non-tender and distended abdomen, liver palpable 6 centimeter below the right costal margin in the midclavicular line. A sharp edge, smooth surface, firm in consistency, and it was non-tender, no pulsations or bruit. Spleen palpable 8 centimeter below the left costal margin along the splenic axis with sharp margin, firm in consistency and non-tender, surface was smooth and moves with respiration. Percussion, dullness noted from the fourth intercostal space with liver span of 8 centimeter. Ascites was present, shifting dullness present. On auscultation, bowel sounds were heard and no bruit.
You said flanks were free, now you said ascites is present.
Ma'am, it was...
contradicting your statements. Yes?
Ma'am, it was not...
How did you assert that there is ascites?
Shifting dullness was present, ma'am. And abdomen was uniformly distended.
Okay. It was confirmed by ultrasound, is it?
Yes, ma'am. Ultrasound findings confirm ascites, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Be careful, no? When you say that flanks are free, and you say, later you say that there is shifting dullness, no, it doesn't correlate. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Cardiovascular system, S1, S2 heard, no murmur present, no dextrocardia.
Why did you look for dextrocardia?
Ma'am, in case of biliary atresia, splenic malformation, cardiac abnormalities can be seen like situs inversus.
Okay. Okay, what are the conditions with murmurs? When do you see murmurs in case of cholestasis? Find murmurs. What are the conditions? Where cholestasis will be there, then heart disease also will be there. Madhubala, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Alagille syndrome,
Okay.
Down syndrome,
Okay.
and Zellweger syndrome, ma'am.
Zellweger's. Okay.
Congenital rubella syndrome.
Congenital rubella, yes. Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Respiratory system, bilateral air entry was present, normal vesicular breath sounds heard. Central nervous system, no focal neurological deficit was noted. Summary, 1 month, 15 days old male child born out of non-consanguineous marriage, first in birth order, with uneventful birth history and non-significant family history, presented with conjugated bilirubinemia for 1 month, with failure to thrive with hepatosplenomegaly, likely to be secondary to biliary atresia or choledochal cyst, neonatal hepatitis, metabolic disorders or storage disorders with portal venous obstruction. So biliary atresia and choledochal cyst, I thought because of conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, ma'am.
Biliary atresia, okay. Why do you think of choledochal cyst?
That can, even in choledochal cyst, child can have features of conjugated hyperbilirubinemia can be there in case of choledochal.
What about hepatosplenomegaly? Do you have hepatosplenomegaly in choledochal cyst?
No, unlike
Choledochal cyst will not come in the differentials. Even biliary atresia, okay, but because of the persistently pale tooth, you have brought biliary atresia.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, choledochal cyst will definitely, even biliary atresia does not produce this big liver and spleen. But anyway, because of the persistently pale tooth, you have brought biliary atresia. Okay, we accept that. Okay.
Neonatal hepatitis because of failure to thrive, ma'am.
Okay.
And metabolic disorders also because of failure to thrive, and storage disorders. Baby had
Instead of neonatal hepatitis, you put more of torch infections or something like that.
Okay, ma'am. Storage disorders because of failure to thrive and splenomegaly mainly, ma'am.
Okay. So this 15 days old child has a persistent pale stools with neonatal cholestasis. With any child with cholestasis and persistently pale stool, it is our duty to rule out biliary atresia. That is why she has considered biliary atresia as the first possibility. But anyway, but usually biliary atresia, generally the child will be normal. The weight will be normal at birth, and even the child will be well at least up to 3 to 4 months. The child will be thriving well, but this child is not thriving well. This is 1 point against biliary atresia.
Biliary atresia, yes.
Similarly, the biliary atresia usually they might have a massive hepatomegaly, moderate hepatomegaly, and usually spleen may or may not be present, especially at this early when the child is pursuing at 1 year and 1 month and 15 days of life. Generally, they don't have a splenomegaly. The splenomegaly in case of biliary atresia is only secondary to portal hypertension.
Portal hypertension.
The portal hypertension does not develop in biliary, and cirrhosis does not develop that early, but very, very rare possibility is there, but does not appear this early. Even in that case, there is portal hypertension that it cannot be the spleen cannot be this big. So this firm massive hepatosplenomegaly is usually against biliary atresia. The only thing in favor of biliary atresia in this child is only the persistently pale stools.
Pale stools, yes.
When you take torch infections, that is neonatal hepatitis due to torch infection, generally the child is they don't thrive well, but the child generally will be sick. There'll be seizures, or they'll have failure to thrive. They'll have cutaneous bleeds, and mostly the child will look sick. This child, by the explanation with the weight, this child appears sick, but on appearance is not sick. But when you see the panthropometry, the child definitely has not been thriving well. So definitely we have to keep torch infection as one of the possibilities. The problem is that even torch infection, firm massive hepatosplenomegaly is not usually common. They might have either a soft or either a soft or a firm hepatomegaly, but it be not that. It may be a mild to moderate hepatosplenomegaly can be present. This child is as a real big spleen and liver according to the placenta. So we have to keep possibility of neonatal hepatitis due to torch infections. Metabolic disorders, okay, metabolic disorders, we have to consider only the metabolic disorders more often present as maybe in case of galactosemia, they present early with seizures. There may be cataract present. In case of tyrosinemia, they might, or even galactosemia, tyrosine, or inherently hemochromatosis, generally they present with liver failure early. The jaundice will be there. The child will appear very sick. They'll be looking sick, and unusual coagulopathy and ascites may appear early in case of metabolic disorders presenting in the neonatal period. So we have to keep that in the differentials, but just a huge liver and spleen, but no, minimal ascites or no ascites, it's unlikely to be a cause to be due to metabolic liver disease. And psoriasis is definitely a possibility. So some of the psoriasis like Niemann-Pick and causes can present with jaundice in there, but presentation may not be this early, but sometimes can present even the neonatal period also. That because the child is looking normal, but there is failure to
thrive.
Huge liver and spleen. So this also kept as a possibility. What is this with portal venous obstruction? Why you put with portal venous obstruction?
Ma'am, because ascites is there, and also splenomegaly. So
you mean portal hypertension?
yes, ma'am. Portal hypertension.
Better mention it portal hypertension. In case this spleen is in case this is due to biliary atresia, then this splenomegaly may be taken as evidence of portal hypertension.
Portal hypertension.
In case of metabolic liver diseases, splenomegaly can be taken as due to portal hypertension and even torch infection. That's what you mean. And torch can even without portal hypertension also you can have splenomegaly. Even storage disorders without portal hypertension we can have splenomegaly.
Splenomegaly, yes, ma'am.
And metabolic disorders, splenomegaly may be secondary to portal hypertension. That's what. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if it's a storage disorder, what are the storage disorder which you are thinking of?
A Niemann-Pick disease and Gaucher's, ma'am.
Which type of Niemann-Pick?
Type C, ma'am.
Okay, type C or type B, type B maybe later down, but type C, okay, can present even the neonatal period with hepatosplenomegaly. Metabolic disorders, what are the common metabolic disorders which present at this age?
Galactosemia, ma'am.
Galactosemia, okay.
Hereditary fructose intolerance.
A little later, but anyway, a little later, not this early, but sometimes can present, okay then.
Tyrosinemia, ma'am.
Tyrosinemia, already mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? What is the usual presentation of cystic fibrosis?
Respiratory, initially child will have meconium ileus, ma'am, and also respiratory infections, recurrent respiratory tract infections will be there.
But this child is only 1.5 months old. Please understand that. So what will this child present as? If at all it's cystic fibrosis.
Failure to thrive.
So this child will present only as failure to thrive or jaundice.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
only thing in this big liver and spleen may not be usual for presentation in cystic fibrosis. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
With this in your in this differentials, so Dr. Ravikir, anything you want to ask?
No, ma'am. I think that's it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. This with these conditions in the differentials, Dr. Madhu.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you want to evaluate this child?
These were the investigations, ma'am. So initially, total bilirubin was 14.25, direct bilirubin was 11, and liver enzymes.
Oh yeah, just leave alone what are the results. But what will you? I want what will you want?
Yes, ma'am. So bilirubin.
So this child is going to come with neonatal cholestasis, failure to thrive, and massive hepatosplenomegaly. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hepatosplenomegaly. Okay, so what first
so total and conjugated
biliary atresia. First biliary atresia is biliary atresia. So what is the first thing you will do?
Total and conjugated bilirubin.
You try to look at the stool yourself. There is this white, this yellow, and all, but better you see by yourself. Yes. And always document or take a photograph and document yourself that this child had a
consecutive stool.
So that is whatever you see by yourself, only that is a confirmatory. So you see then definitely the stool is white, then you definitely know that it's only due to okay. Sometimes they will say even they say it's yellow, but when you see it'll be very lightly pigmented, light yellow it will be. Then that also can be due to biliary. That's why you always see the stool sample yourself. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes even you will have to see it 3 days. Why?
Ma'am, intermittent pale stools can be present. So
no, in the pale stools, if intermittent, I am not bothered. What I am more bothered? So any number of pale stools they can have, but one stool is
pale stools also considerable.
Then the rules of biliary atresia. The child is got real passes greenish yellow stools even once. So the first day it looks yellow, light yellow, but second day it looks really greenish greenish and greenish yellow, then you know that it cannot be biliary atresia.
Biliary atresia.
They'll pass only pale stools. So that's why we are asking three
consecutive.
Why? Because usually the bile secretion is usually intermittent. The bile is not secreted throughout the day. So by the time they collected, it might be lightly pigmented or even pale. But once then next time, then they might have some pigmentation in it. So that's the reason we always see at least for 3 consecutive days. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Try to look the stools for yourself at least for 3 days.
Yes, ma'am. So investigation.
Biliary atresia being your first diagnosis, so your first job is to look at the stools. Okay, then.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to see total and conjugated bilirubin
Why
levels.
this child had initially normal stools and later became pale?
It could be.
Why initially it was normal, then later became pale?
In partial obstruction.
No. Don't confuse. You said initially the first week or first 10 days child had a normal stool. That's what you told me. And then after 10 days it started becoming pale stools. Why?
This is a progressive condition, biliary atresia.
So progressive condition, it need not be at birth also. It can even develop after birth. So it need not be present. That's the reason most of the time biliary atresia usually presents later, sometimes even after 1 month or 1.5 months. That's the reason they'll start showing up with the pale stool. So that's why that is the usual presentation of biliary. It doesn't present at birth. Okay, that is another thing in favorable. If it presents late, it favors biliary atresia always. Okay. Child is presenting with pale stools even at birth. No? Then can a biliary atresia present with pale stools at birth?
No, ma'am. Fibroinflammatory condition. Slowly.
No. Yes? Madhu?
No, ma'am.
Perinatal biliary atresia, but that in
What
that
biliary atresia?
there's a condition perinatal biliary atresia.
Okay, yeah, child when that is not perinatal, it's prenatal.
But the child will not be
onset of biliary atresia, then the child can present with pale stools at birth, and that condition the child even have multiple anomalies. They can be IUGR.
Yes, ma'am.
Well also. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first you have to see the stool. The next one is to this child had cholestasis, so you have to confirm your cholestasis. What is cholestasis? And what is cholestasis by definition?
This is persistent jaundice for more than persistent jaundice for more than
The jaundice beyond 14 days. Okay,
14 days
what is important?
High colored urine and pale stools.
That is clinically you see. What biochemically I'm asking?
Presence of high level of conjugated bilirubin, more than 20% of total bilirubin. If serum bilirubin is more than 5 milligram per deciliter, okay, or more than 1 milligram per deciliter if serum bilirubin is less than 5 milligram per deciliter.
Okay, so that you have to confirm your cholestasis by serum bilirubin. So that is your first step. Say confirm your cholestasis. See that the bilirubin is as expected. Okay, then next step. So first you do first I will prefer you to do the answer like this. First step is to confirm cholestasis by doing a serum bilirubin
and direct bilirubin, total bilirubin and direct bilirubin.
Okay. And, so you have to always fractionate. Why?
To evaluate for conjugated hyperbilirubinemia versus unconjugated.
Not now. Previously, they used to have the habit of having only bilirubin a single value. Then you will not know. Generally, you will miss all the conjugate bilirubinemia unless you see the stool or urine color. That's why you always fractionate bilirubin always. Okay. Then.
Yes. So liver enzymes to see for any hepatocyte injury, ma'am.
Okay.
And
injury, even in biliary atresia, there will be a certain amount of hepatocyte injury. So liver enzyme will be increased in both. Maybe the degree of increase maybe different. In hepatitis, no, then they might have a more increase. I mean, more than 3-fold. Whereas in case of biliary, there may be only mild elevation. But just with the that liver enzymes elevation, you cannot differentiate between biliary atresia and neuronal hepatitis. Okay, that's not very important. Okay, which enzyme is more important than SGOT, SGPT in evaluation of
GGTP, ma'am?
GGT. Why GGTP is important?
Progressive familial intrahepatic cholestasis, ma'am.
So normally, all conditions of cholestasis, either GGTP alkyl phosphatase, you also expect the GGTP to be raised. But if it's normal or
low, it is PFIC can be.
You think of PFIC and inborn errors of bilateral metabolism. So these are two conditions where the GGT can be normal. Okay. How will you differentiate between PFIC or inborn error of bilateral metabolism?
PFIC or
You've done GGT, you've done GGT is normal. Okay. Now, then you either think of PFIC 1 and 2 or you think of inborn error of bilateral metabolism. How will you differentiate between these two?
It will be low in case of PFIC 1, ma'am.
Inborn error of bile acids will be low only. How will you differentiate? So you do a serum bile acids. Serum bile acids are elevated, then it favors PFIC. Serum bile acids are normal or low, then it favors inborn error of bile acid metabolism. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you do a serum bilirubin, then you do a liver enzymes, then you do a
Albumin level and protein
and albumin globulin how liver
synthetic
functioning well or not. You have to assess by doing a serum proteins and the prothrombin types. Okay, but assess the liver function by prothrombin time and serum albumin and globulin. Okay, that is your basic. Okay, next.
Urine test to be done, ma'am. Urine analysis to be done.
Okay.
Urine for reducing substances we can do to rule out metabolic disorder like galactosemia.
No, this child is a case of you said you wanted to rule out biliary atresia first.
Yes, ma'am. Serum.
Am I right? So why do you want to rule out biliary atresia in this child first? That should be a priority. Why?
Dr. Madhu, is there any difference in the treatment or prognosis? That is what Madam is trying to
What is going to help you? No, why you want to prove biliary atresia first? If
in case of
I'll write to rule out biliary atresia first. Why?
Because we can go for either corrective surgery like Kasai procedure or liver.
So you want to go for early surgery. Only the early surgery gives better prognosis.
Better place, ma'am.
So you want to rule out biliary atresia as early as possible. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what will you do to rule out biliary atresia? Because only
ultrasound.
Except for the pale stools, nothing in this child is favoring biliary atresia.
Yes, ma'am.
So we better you rule out biliary atresia as early as possible, so that it's not, if biliary atresia is ruled out, then you can look for other causes. So first you have to rule out biliary atresia. What will you do for rule out biliary atresia?
Urine bile acid can be done, ma'am.
Biliary atresia.
Ultrasound imaging studies can be done.
So imaging, okay.
In ultrasound findings, in case of biliary, favorable for biliary atresia, can have hepatosplenomegaly with contracted gallbladder, ma'am.
Okay. Contracted gallbladder maybe gives a suspicion of biliary atresia, but it doesn't confirm the diagnosis.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this child, you find a contracted gallbladder. What will you do next?
HIDA scan, ma'am.
Okay.
To confirm the diagnosis, less than 6 weeks, if the child is presenting, we can do HIDA scan, and the child is presenting more than that, then confirmatory test would be liver biopsy, ma'am.
Both HIDA and liver biopsy, they've got different functions. HIDA we generally do only to rule out. It's a non-invasive. Liver biopsy anyway, it's an invasive test. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So anyway, what the purpose of doing HIDA is this child has got a pale stool, no white stool.
Yes, ma'am.
It's got a white stool, so it is our duty to rule out biliary atresia in this child. So HIDA is a non-invasive test, so you can do it and easily rule out. How will you rule out biliary atresia in HIDA?
Obstruction. In case of biliary atresia, the normal uptake will be uptake of the liver will be normal, but the excretion will not be there, ma'am.
So you are looking for excretion up to 24 hours. There is no excretion up to 24 hours. Then you think maybe it could be, even then it's not confirmatory. You can say it in terms of biliary atresia. But more important that you can rule out biliary atresia. If there is excretion in the intestine, then it rules out biliary atresia. So that's what we are trying to see. If you do HIDA and HIDA, there is excretion, you know that it's not biliary atresia. Other workup. So this child, the results have come, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Just can you show me the results?
HIDA scan obstruction to the bile flow and gallbladder was not visualized, and we did a liver biopsy, ma'am.
Okay.
So that was consistent with biliary atresia.
So HIDA scan, there was no intestinal. There is no the flow in the intestine.
No, excretion was not there, ma'am. There was obstruction to the biliary flow.
Okay. So, okay. What was the liver biopsy?
It was consistent with biliary atresia, ma'am. So
It means what exactly were the
What do
findings?
you see on biliary ultrasound?
lobular architecture will be intact, and bile plugs were present in biliary ducts, and biliary duct proliferation can be there, and bile lakes, ma'am. Bile lakes can be present in the
Bile lakes and bile ductal proliferation can be present in all cases of cholestasis. The most specific features are the portal tract inflammation, portal
edema and fibrosis.
Edema and fibrosis are the diagnostic characteristic feature of biliary atresia. What will you see in urinary hepatitis?
Hepatocellular ballooning can be there, ma'am, and multinucleated giant cells. And
so
also
giant cell hepatitis is seen in other conditions, like medical conditions. Generally see giant cell hepatitis. Reaction in newborns for any infection or any toxins. Okay, so you see giant cell hepatitis in case of other medical conditions, whereas you see portal edema and portal fibrosis in case of biliary atresia. Okay, this child, okay, you say this child had a IDA, there is no excretion and the liver biopsy was considered biliary atresia, then you have sent the child to surgeon. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the surgeon did a operative cholangiogram. Okay.
Yes,
the cholangiogram shows that there is excretion into the intestine. So what will you do?
Nutritional caloric supplement can be given.
Please you hear the question before jumping into
I know. when you opened up, then they've done and they injected the dye, but now they are able to find the dye in the intestine. So there is no biliary atresia.
Yes,
this child is only 1 month and 15 days old. Okay. So there is no biliary atresia. They have taken a liver biopsy. They have closed and come. Already we've done a liver biopsy. So liver biopsy, they have closed and come. So they've sent back to you saying that this child does not require surgery. You evaluate further. So how will you evaluate? Otherwise, what are the other conditions which can cause?
There can be functional cholestasis, ma'am.
Functional. This child has got hepatosplenomegaly. No, where's the question of functional? Otherwise, already we discussed what are the other causes for
storage disorders, ma'am.
Okay, so how will you diagnose storage disorders?
A bone marrow aspiration can be done to rule out storage disorders.
So what will you see on bone marrow?
Rule out lysosomal storage disorders.
No. Storage disorders. What are you expecting to see in bone marrow? I'm asking. Storage cells. What are the conditions where you see storage cells in bone marrow? What are the foamy histiocytes? What are Gaucher cells? Okay, please learn all those things. You should know all those things. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And whenever you're thinking of whenever you're thinking of storage disorders, you do a bone marrow to pick up the storage cells. Okay, you may not pick up, but if you're able to pick up, then you can actually close down be closer to the diagnosis. But what is the confirmatory test for storage disorders?
Enzyme assay, ma'am.
Okay, so nowadays, no, they don't depend on all this. They don't depend on all bone marrow. No, they straight away go for a enzyme analysis. The defective enzyme, if you're able to pick up, then you know the diagnosis is confirmed. Okay. So conditions. How will you diagnose metabolic disorders? Already said could be galactosemia, could be tyrosine, what else you said? Cystic fibrosis, or we already discussed. So how will you diagnose these conditions?
Metabolic disorders like galactosemia, urine for reducing substances can be done, ma'am.
Okay.
And
urine for reducing substances is positive. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other simple test you can do so that you can think it's that reducing substance only galactose? How will you find out? Reducing substance possibly can be due to anything else, fructose or galactose or glucose.
Metabolic testing.
No, without just for urine test, I'm asking. You find the urine reduced sugar is positive. Then anything else you can do so that it's not glucose. You can prove it, no? How will you prove that it's not glucose?
Anything you have learned in biochemistry?
Bedside test, anything you know?
Benedict's test.
Okay, Benedict's test.
That is a general test for all the sugars.
Reducing sugars.
Is there any specific?
Benedict.
What is the bedside test for diagnosing urine reduced substance? What do you do bedside? Generally, how do the diabetic patients, they do it?
Hypoglycemia.
No. Urine sugar, how will you see generally? Nowadays, Benedict is done now.
Now, what do they use? What is the test they use?
Dipstick test.
So glucose sticks. So if you have a reduced sugar is positive and use a glucose sticks is negative, then you know that this is not glucose. So it could be something, either galactose or fructose. So that will give a indirect evidence that it could be galactosemia. Okay, but now it's advanced. We are going to do galliput or something like that. But generally, I'm telling you, it can be easy way to find out that it's not this reduced sugar is not glucose. It could be galactose or fructose. Okay.
Yes.
Then how will you diagnose tyrosinemia? I think we are.
Urinary excretion of succinyl acetone be positive, ma'am.
Okay.
And also alpha fetoprotein levels can be.
Okay. Alpha beta protein is generally taken as a screening test. It's not a confirmatory test, screening test, which should be very high, nearly lakhs. Then suggest, because generally in newborn the alpha beta protein is higher. Even in any cause of this may be slightly higher. So it'll be really high, nearly in thousands or lakhs. Only then you can suspect succinylacetone acetone. But sometimes even with low values, it can be positive. As you said, even in succinylacetone acetone would be better test. Okay, then.
That is for tyrosinemia. And,
Dr. Ravi, anything else you want to ask?
No.
Okay. So generally, how will you approach a case of hepatosplenomegaly? This is a newborn, because it was a newborn, everything is gone towards, now it's cholestasis, it's gone towards cholestasis. But the older child, the hepatosplenomegaly will go in a different direction.
yes.
So how will you approach a case of hepatosplenomegaly? This child, according to you, this is a massive hepatosplenomegaly and biliary atresia. The diagnosis is not, I'm not able to get into this diagnosis. No, this is not a presentation in case of biliary atresia, but no, the diseases don't read textbooks. It can present in any other way they want, but I'm telling, generally, the massive liver and massive spleen usually not seen in biliary atresia. That early as 1 month. Okay. So how will you approach a case of hepatosplenomegaly in infancy? What are the causes? We already discussed, but generally telling. Classify. How will you classify?
Storage disorders or infective inborn errors of metabolism. So, infective causes, ma'am.
Other conditions we have discussed, any other conditions can cause hepatosplenomegaly and jaundice?
Infective causes like
Not infective. Not infective. In that case, also child may not be sick. Other than what we discussed, metabolic torch and biliary atresia, obstructive causes, everything we discussed. Other than that, anything else which can also cause hepatosplenomegaly and jaundice, but child may not be very sick.
Neonatal hemochromatosis.
That is okay. That the child will be sick. It will die early unless diagnosed or given transplant. So I already discussed, there's a ductal plate abnormality, especially congenital hepatic fibrosis or Caroli's disease. They can present with hepatosplenomegaly and jaundice. Even in newborns, we have seen. Now, what is that? Usually, but they are with polycystic kidney disease. You might have a palpable kidney also in these cases. Okay. So always when you're not able to come to a diagnosis, you also think in terms of rare possibilities like congenital hepatic fibrosis or Caroli's disease. Okay. Caroli's can be easily diagnosed by ultrasound, but congenital hepatic fibrosis is not easily diagnosed by ultrasound. Only by biopsy you can diagnose. Okay. Only thing usually they'll have varices if they have a portal hypertension. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of them present with when the portal hypertension is predominant, they present with bleed. When biliary obstruction is predominant, they present with jaundice. Can even present in the newborn or even the early infancy also. They can present.
Yes.
Okay, so that also kept as a rare possibility. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how will you manage this child? This child, you said it's according to your all the investigations, it's confirmed as a case of biliary atresia. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you manage this child now?
Exclusive breastfeeding and
this child has got biliary atresia. You want to breastfeed the child and keep with you, huh?
This Kasai procedure can be done, ma'am, because it is presented at 1.5 months.
The whole idea of all our investigation was to prove biliary atresia and then send them to the surgeon, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Keep them further. You have to send them to the surgeon. So what do the surgeons do?
Kasai procedure, ma'am.
So what is Kasai procedure?
hepatoportoenterostomy.
Okay.
So
What do you do that? What is the principle? Why do you do that?
in this the bile duct can be bypassed, ma'am. So the bile excretion.
Why should you bypass the bile duct? Actually,
Because
pathology in biliary atresia. What happens there?
so there will be obstruction of the bile duct, ma'am. So to divert the biliary bile excretion,
You know that it's biliary atresia, no? You don't see the bile. Instead, what you see? You cannot find a bile duct per se. You will see instead what you say. You only see a cord-like structure in the porta. That is what you picked up in triangular cord string.
triangular cord, yes, ma'am.
It's only fibrous tissue you see. So what is the aim of the surgery is to just mean some
divert the biliary excretion directly.
no, some minute bile ductules may be present in the fibrous cord. These ductules may drain some amount of bile from the liver into the intestine. So that is the idea of anastomosing the porta with the intestine. Okay. That is the idea of doing the Kasai. So when will you say the Kasai is successful?
Within 3 months, the jaundice there is no evidence of jaundice.
Okay.
And child is also thriving well.
Bilirubin?
And the stool color is improved, ma'am.
Okay. Biochemically?
Bilirubin level would have decreased.
Okay, should be less than 2. More than 3.5, then you generally say it's failed. So it should be less than 2 or 1. So more than 3.5, it persists after 3 months. Then you say that's failure of Kasai. Okay, the bilirubin still remains more than 3.5 at 3 months. Then you say that the Kasai has failed. Or as you said, there is no industrial excretion. The child continues to progress, or there is ascites. Then you say the Kasai has failed. Okay. So how do you manage failed Kasai?
Go for liver transplantation.
Okay. So what are the prerequisites for a successful Kasai? When you say the success, when a case comes, when you say this definitely will be successful. When we
so it is less than 6 months.
6 months.
6 weeks, ma'am. 6 weeks.
Okay. Then
successful Kasai is done less than 6 weeks, and prognosis is also better, ma'am.
Okay. What are the other predictors of prognosis?
Successful.
Your other. Let him answer. Doctor?
Well child, ma'am. As a good, well-nourished child can.
As he said, the age is the most important item. Other things are the surgeon, the surgical team, no, how experienced they are, and the post-operative complication. The child doesn't develop any cholangitis. Then they'll be successful. Previously, they used to say the size of the bile ductules, if there's more than 150 microns, it's successful. But nowadays, that criteria has been erased. They don't think so. Nowadays, even smaller ductules can drain bile. Okay. Okay. Anything else, Dr. Ravi?
No, ma'am. No. Yes.
Vishwanathan, can we stop here? Vishnu?
Madam is over.
I muted myself. I think that's good. I think you covered extensively, madam. You covered all the relevant things. Everything is very nicely covered. And can I just add just a couple of points?
Okay.
Just a couple of points, Dr. Madhu, just not necessarily for this case. In any case of jaundice with hepatosplenomegaly, when you're saying negative history, please also say whether there's any pruritus or not, because one of the way of cholestasis that can be pruritus.
Yes,
okay, another thing is,
but this child is very small, no, Vichu, that's why.
No, not this child. I'm saying not this child. I'm just saying this for jaundice hepatosplenomegaly, not this child.
Okay.
And also, since you are also there is an evidence of hepatosplenomegaly, and you said that there may be evidence of portal hypertension. Also mention in negative history any hematemesis melina, not in this age. I'm just saying that. Okay, pruritus. Also complication of portal hypertension. When you have hematemesis melina, you have to just say that. That's it. Otherwise, madam has covered everything. And the only thing is not for this particular case. When there is a case of conjugate hyperbilirubinemia, particularly in this age group, not with hepatosplenomegaly, you also make sure the urine culture, just to make sure there is no UTI. Don't miss a UTI. And make sure you don't rule out just make sure you rule out hypothyroidism. That's it. Two basic things. Not with hepatosplenomegaly, but generally congenital hyperbilirubinemia. In this age group, you have to rule out UTI. Don't miss important things and don't miss hypothyroidism. That's it. Thank you.
I think the madam has taken so much interest to teach the postgraduate so nicely, and both students are presented extremely well. I think with their capacity, and people are very much benefited. I think that's another thing. I think Dr. Srinivasan sir, anything you want to add?
Good evening, sir. Any comments?
Sir, you make it
Unmute, sir.
unmute.
Unmute, sir.
Unmute, sir. Unmute.
Yeah.
Good
She
evening,
has
sir.
spoken so extensively, word by word and sentence by sentence. Even Ravi Kiran was keeping quiet as a moderator. So why should I talk? And she has covered almost all aspects of.
Yes, sir. That was a very beautiful, learning session
right.
for everybody.
Yeah.
So she has covered very beautifully and very, very extensively.
Thank you, sir.
Did a good job. So.
Madam has covered extensively. The only thing.
How many more times you listen to this type of cases?
Yes,
In the
sir.
neonate, each one has a difference, and every person adds to your knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, hepatosplenomegaly is one of the difficult to really.
Yeah, the wide spectrum of conditions are there, and with the limited facilities, of course, now you can, as you mentioned,
Now they have everything, sir.
There is no need to set in investigations like bone marrow aspiration, but straight
Yes.
away you can go for
Enzyme.
genomic, this thing and all you mentioned. So very important. Why do an invasive procedure for storage disorders? This thing. Thank you. It's very educative. I enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sunathan want to add something. Sunathan.
Just one thing, Madam has covered extensively. I think she has made sure that she gives every important learning points for the exams for each and every history and every exam. She has covered extensively, very nicely. Only thing, as Madam rightly pointed out, don't put the word portal venous obstruction. It's a totally a different condition. You have to put portal hypertension. That's very important. Portal venous just is a portal vein thrombosis. And extrahepatic portal obstruction, that itself is a totally different condition. Don't put that one. Please change that. Portal venous obstruction, no, it's portal hypertension. And second important thing is, as Madam mentioned, HFI slightly come later at around 4 months, 6 months, when they try to introduce weaning or when they start giving some sugary food, something like that. And other important thing is eye findings, apart from these cataracts, etc. One thing is called embryotoxin. You need to read that about. Can be happening. Just for examination. The exam is they ask, no, what other features you look for in cholestasis. You can think about that. And also Alagille syndrome, you can have a butterfly vertebra. That's another thing, another brownie points. They will give you extra points mark for you if you say that.
The cardiac association will be there.
Don't miss that one. And sometimes cholestasis we call ARC syndrome, arthrogryposis, renal dysplasia congenita. They can have some sort of arthrogryposis. That's another thing, ARC syndrome. That's cholestasis, ARC, A-R-C, arthrogryposis, renal dysplasia congenita. I mean, you have cholestasis. Just one thing you have to make. All these little things that helps you, apart from facial dysmorphism. Another thing is, micro and macro can we discuss about that. And I think, and the other thing is, if you're suspecting torch infection, you can mention about ultrasound head also. It can give some evidence of calcification, etc. That is some evidence there.
Imaging is very important in torch.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you.
Nirmala, just I wanted to make a comment. You look sometimes, just suddenly you look like Elizabeth, madam. You have resemblance to her so much.
She's so thin, sir.
You are also become thin down. When I saw you long back, you are very.
No, sir, because if it's looking like this here, I'm same only.
Yeah, I know that you are same only.
But yes, you have mentioned the same thing.
I think that's not. I want to ask one question. When I was 30 years back, when you are from AFMC, my professor used to tell that don't use negative history. No history is a negative. I don't know. Everybody, these 6 days, I am hearing that is called negative. What is this negative history meaning? I cannot understand.
I want to say the following things are not present. Instead of saying no.
No. Okay, but you cannot write negative history and you cannot tell negative.
Following things are asked and they were not absent. That is better.
That is a better way to tell, because I even in Ramchandra Medical, when I was a professor, I never allow that to happen in negative history. You cannot tell that
Dr.
negative.
Subbarao in Manipal, no. So
Ah.
previously St. John's, he used to say, for every no, you have to give justification why you ask for
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. That's
Otherwise,
true.
mark will be cut. He used to say.
But that is only negative history. Don't tell. For all the PGs, I'm telling you, nothing is negative in these histories. Every history is very important. In medicine, history is the most important topic in everywhere. With history, you can able diagnose. I think you have to correlate with the history with your clinical examination. Then only what we used to tell in allergy, even allergy skin test, what
In
we do.
allergy, you have to ask so many food items.
Yes,
Whether
yes,
you are
yes. So
taking
much is there. 30 to 40 minutes we have to
Yes, sir.
spend with the patient and all. That's why I thought history is very important. I think today's wonderful session. I think we are much benefited by the stalwarts of today. A lot of people were there, and Sangeeta Madam and Dr. Nirmala and Dr. Ravi Kiran and Dr. Thangavelu, all the people have done very good job for the today's thing. And both of them, Dr. Madhubala and
We'll congratulate Dr. Madhu and Dr. Manoj. for the
Manoj, they
presentation.
both
Thank
are
you so much.
participated very well, and it is a great opportunity for them to present in such a
Yes, sir.
great forums. And even these, we are going to put it in. A lot of people asking me. I think somebody has sent a message now. I think Vijay Raghavan sir has sent a message. I talked to the DIP just now. I think we will put it once it is over. We want to put it in the YouTube. The problem is every day if we put it, nobody will come. That is the problem. Biggest problem is there. Everything is available.
There.
They are already there. So much laziness is developing with Corona rather than activeness. That's why I thought it is not good. I only told them don't put it in that thing. We are going to put it from Monday onwards. We'll send the link to all of you. That is one thing what I want to pass on to you. I think your videos will be circulated for years together. I can tell you when we did intensive clinical training program for so many years back in 2001, still that videos are going, that CDs are circulated. Madam, you know, might be knowing Institute of Child Health, we did Dr. Guna Singh and myself used to do.
Still they are doing, sir.
Still, you are doing it, but that CDs are
That will
still
be
going.
yes. Even we used to get those CDs, sir.
CDs that VSSR was there and all this.
Associated right from the first.
Very useful, very useful.
I think that is the one thing I'm telling you. You are all fortunate to that. We can see even after 30, 40 years, you can see your face, how you changed. Evaluation along with the medical evaluation, your face evaluation also you can evaluate yourself. I think that's the only useful for all of us. As Viswanathan.
1 second, thank you. As Madam mentioned, one important point, in a child of this age group, the hepatosplenomegaly jaundice, when somebody even asks you for investigation, you have to start with stool examination. That's the most important thing. If you don't say that, you can be failed actually. Stool examination is the most important thing than any investigation. You have to see that for 3 days. That's important. As Dr. Naras are mentioning, and even if people look at YouTube and all, I will tell you one thing, nothing can replace a teacher teaching a student. Okay?
Yes, sir. Nothing like live session. It's all difficult.
I think you tell that if you don't want to put me, I don't put it in the YouTube at all. Even now it is my hand only.
No, sir. You put in. Students try to attend these sessions because during a teaching, there's an interaction between different teachers and student and teacher. And there's a modulation in the voice. There is certain points are emphasized. Those things you cannot just go by the video.
Yes, Dr. Sunathan, you are absolutely correct. When you listen the thing, it will go more and more to your brain. If you read it, it won't go much at all. It's so much debated. Better to listen to the more senior people who are experienced. They'll teach is much better than the people. You read your own books and Google and all. Google only make you confused. That's why the Google fellow made it like that. I think a lot of people making confused and come there, and the experience you have to know about your own experience and all. I think with that we'll be able to close this session. We'll ask Dr. Venkatesh sir to give the remarks, afterwards followed by Annamalai sir, and I think Ravi Kiran is not able to talk anything. Please tell something about this program, sir. I think Ravi Kiran first will give the chance. Professor Ravi Kiran.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, Nagraj sir. And this is the first time I'm attending the two from the Chennai branch, what is being organized. I think it's such a beautiful academic session, something which we really, I think all of us being teachers also, we need to look forward a very, very beautiful interaction. I think not only we are able to teach the students, but mutually, I think there is a lot we learn. Especially today's session is something I will really, it is a beautiful revision and so many newer things about gastroenterology I have come to know. I think thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity. Even I enjoyed my session very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. I think, sir, Venkatesan, sir.
Yes, sir.
Venkatesh,
This is
sir.
today another great day of learning experience. I congratulate all the speakers. They have done an excellent job, all the moderators, and also the students who have presented very well. And finally, our coordination by Dr. MSV, he has done it nicely.
He's
Thank
just
you
like
all.
another MSV, sir.
Yeah, I know.
That's why.
He's almost like another MSV.
Orchestra, he did very well.
He's orchestrated well. So tomorrow,
I think
the
both
day.
of us working in same place, but we are not hardly meet each other. The timings are so different. Dr. MSV, correct?
Yes. But we can meet, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Annamalai, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
Good evening,
Nagaraj.
sir. Annamalai, sir, good evening.
Good evening, madam. Nice moderation today by you and Professor Ravi Kiran.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful session. Right from the beginning, you have made the postgraduates present well and ask questions right from the beginning. So even the first question about staining the diaper, everything will be very important and useful for the postgraduates. And even the moderation by both the professors, they were doing it very well, and the student was also able to answer. And one more thing I would like to add, Dr. Ravi Kiran's voice is somewhat like that of Dr. P. Ramachandran.
PRC, yeah. Correct. I was also thinking.
Tomorrow's session is by Dr. Ramachandran. So
PRC.
I was also thinking PRC is somewhat same, almost similar voice, and also intervening in between like him only.
Correct.
Dr. Nirmala madam, you have done a wonderful job today. Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Vishwanathan also moderated well and spoke well on the new instruments like biopsy, which we didn't see earlier.
Yes, Vishwanathan, this session was very good. I attended.
And I thank students and Professor Tangvel sir and Sangeeta. That session was neurology, was in an excellent way it was done. I thank our senior professor, Dr. Srinivasan, for giving his comments every day. And I thank Professor Venkatesh sir and all the CCB members for the excellent show today.
I think tomorrow's your show, sir.
Yes, tomorrow is our last.
Your show only. Your show. We'll wait
The grand final.
Grand final. That's why we kept it. Yes. And Sridevi, Dr. Sridevi.
Dr. Sridevi and Dakshayani, they were there throughout.
Yeah. They are the two people who are there. Sridevi, you want to?
Sir, it was an excellent program, sir. It was a very good learning experience for us, not only for the students, but for us who are in a teaching position. We have to teach the students. So it was this whole program has been designed very well. Especially today, both the sessions were very, very informative. I was sitting down and taking notes so that we can pass on this knowledge to our students. So it was extremely informative, sir. Thank you, Nirmala madam, and I should thank Sangeeta madam and Tangavel sir for the excellent session.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Darshani, where you are here?
Yeah, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Chennai, please.
I'm actually not surprised that Nidhi madam spent some time and all those points were like darts. I mean, I've heard her as a PG, and of course, we've been hearing her. And today she was exemplary. And as AV sir pointed out, many times I was going through seeing if PRC sir had joined our discussion. Ravi Kiran sir was like...
Voice is like that, correct? What
and Nimi madam was looking